So, a friend of mine who is a priestess of Oba once said, the greatest ally of the children of Xangô is Oba. And I can personally testify to that. So, one of my godsons is a child of Xangô, and one day he was being bullied by these two guys that were around the same age. They're all in their early to mid 20s in the same apartment complex, right? And they had been friends, I think, since they were kids. But then his two friends, a new girl started hanging around them. So my godson is gay, and the two guys were straight, and this new girl was kind of like jealous of their friendship, right? She's like, oh, why are you hanging around with that gay guy, right? I'm not gonna use any slurs, right? So, like, she had started a rumor, right? I'm not gonna talk about it because the censorship on the apps. She had started a rumor that they said my godson was going around telling people that he had done something with the two guys, and she was spreading this falsehood, right? So they went back and they waited for him to leave the apartment complex, and they jumped him, right? And he said they fought them off, and all he had was like a few scratches, right? So then he told me about this. He's like, oh, Padrino, like these guys, they're harassing me every time I leave the apartment building. Like I have to watch my back and everything. So I was like, okay, what are their names, right? And I went to Oba because, as I have said before, Oba was one of the first wishes I received after being initiated to the Wunade. And, I explained the situation to her, and I said, look at this injustice, right? My godson is a good person. He's been helping these guys out because, their mother was away in Panama and he was cooking for them, right? Because I believe at the time he was working in a restaurant or something of that. This is like years ago, so my memory isn't exactly the most freshest, but I do remember the main circumstances, right? So, like, I go to Oba, I was like, he's a child of Shango, please, look after him, protect him and everything, right? So, you light the candle, you say your prayer, you petition the Orishas, and you just forget about it. You go about your business after that, right? So about a month later, right, I asked my godson, I was like, whatever happened to frickin' frack? Whatever happened to those two knuckleheads, right? And he said, no. He's like, but they came and they begged for my forgiveness. They begged for my forgiveness because they found out that the girl, not only was she lying, that she was also, spreading rumors about them, right? And to top it off, since he was the only one that was cooking for him, they had not eaten a proper meal in about a month. So I said their mom went to Panama. I was like, well, what did they eat? He's like, they ate crackhead soup. I was like, what the? Me being, older and not aware of these things, I was like, what's crackhead soup? He's like, crackhead soup is ramen noodles, right? Which we know has like the high sodium content. So all they were doing was eating ramen noodles for a month because they had nothing to eat because he was the one that was preparing the food for them, right? And so they came and they begged for his forgiveness, right? And he said, he forgave them but had no association with them afterwards. So that is an example of how she is the greatest ally of the children of Shango, but also her sense of justice. It is fair, right? Like sometimes the fair punishment is to have your enemies beg for your forgiveness, right? And you have that closure with them. So this is something that has always, stayed with me over the years, and it is an example of, the power of Oba.